Veloce.
Rápido.
Veloz.
Ágil.
Ligero.
Pronto.
Express.
Acelerado.
Presto.
Velozmente.
Veloz.
Now, what does all of that mean? It sounds like we just said a whole bunch of something in a different language. What does that mean?
Speed. Fast. Quick.
Or, as we like to say, quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so as you all may have gathered from that great intro that we just did, and we also just taught you a little bit of, some different languages right now. So that's what we do.
Little Italian,
You know
little
what
Spanish.
I'm saying? We're worldwide, baby. Worldwide. So now on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about, and I know we used multitudes of words there, but we're going to be talking about Veloz specifically. So when we're talking about speed, Veloz, as one may say, we want to talk to you about the advantages and disadvantages. And I have some questions prepared for Jose, and I want to ask them to get his thoughts, because as you may know or may not know, Jose and I, we agree on a lot, but we also disagree on a lot. So I want to get his takes on some things and see if we can come to the same conclusion. So let's get ready and let's get into it. So first off, I want to know how speed can help. So when I was doing some research on how speed can help as far as doing things quickly as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, there were some things that I found that I believe doing things quickly and swiftly can be very helpful. And the first one that I'd like to talk about is competitive advantages. So how do you think that you can gain a competitive advantage in a particular market by doing something quickly? Could you explain that to the audience?
Now, we've talked about this in the past. There's a saying from Drake. It's not the first who ever did it. It's the best that's ever done it. However, loosely, sometimes you have to be the first one to the market in order to corner the market. And in order to do so, you might have to compromise certain attributes or characteristics of the product or service that you are providing in order to get it to the market. So we like to use the analogy of water.
Right.
A lot. Imagine you're in the desert and your water supply is broken. You've been without water for 2 to 3 days, and a water salesman comes to your doorstep. You don't care whether it's Aquafina, Dasani, Fiji, Essence, Path. Doesn't matter what brand of water it is. It's water.
Right.
Your demand is high, and you need it now. Doesn't matter the quality, you need it. So speed in this event helps you because I think you actually need a high demand in order to elicit, let's say this, proximity of time, proximity of requirement, proximity of a service or a good is what determines the speed at which it should be delivered. If you can spare time, then the quality product is going to dominate. But if you have no time, if immediacy is the most important factor, then quality can suffer in order for speed to be the advantage.
Right. Because it's like you said, if you're in a desert and you need water, it doesn't matter the quality of the water that you get. It's all about the water. However, if you're next to a lake or you're next to a great freshwater area and you want some water, you may then rely more so on quality because you have options there. You have a freshwater source that if it really came down to it, you can go there and get it. So really at that point, it's about quality, not really quantity, because there's not an immediacy, like you said there, to have said water. But
well, and there's also something to be said about me see if I can remember what I was going to say. Nope, it's gone. It was there.
No, watch is going to pop back up randomly. So next I have for you, how does speed help you with adaptability to the market that you're in? Because one thing that we know is that change is the one thing that's going to stay the same throughout the rest of your life. Things are always going to change. So how does being fast, being speedy, being quick help you with being adaptive to the market that you're in?
And I just remember what I was going to say.
Of course you did. I knew it. That's how shit goes.
It's the adage that good things take time. So hearkening back to the previous conversation, competitive advantages, you get the competitive edge, but good things take time. Meaning if you speed up, your product is likely not going to be as good as it can be. But you can still corner the market and improve as you go after you've established your name, which is why I harken back to probably episode 35, the minimum viable product. That was an important podcast. Now, to answer your current question, adaptability to the market, I would like to address a current market trend, and that is artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, these are two extremely powerful and potent technologies that have recently grown in popularity as of late. And the reason being, they're very powerful and they can help expedite and increase the efficiency of many processes, as well as automations that just save loads of labor and practicality. Now, you've probably heard this beaten into the bush so many times. Any business that fails to adapt to the AI and machine learning wave will likely drown just because of speed. So the market's growing, but you're not. And if you're not moving forward, if you're staying still, you're actually regressing because you will be left behind because the crowd is moving. So you standing still is actually you moving backwards with respect to the crowd. So if you're not quick to adapt what's coming to the market and what's hot, then you're going to be left behind. Now, there's a caveat there. You have to make sure that what the market is adapting is something that's viable and has a long-term impact. Because if you're the kind of business that just jumps at every potential, you are going to suffer chasing rabbits everywhere and never actually progressing forward, which makes me think about how do you optimize your resources in this case? Because you're going to have to make calls relatively fast with a limited amount of resources.
Indeed. And when it comes to resources on planet Earth, they're limited. So there's not going to be an exorbitant amount of quality or quantity in these particular resources that you're looking for, especially things that sell. So if you're looking for a particular item and you're trying to sell a particular item or product to someone, the amount or quantity of the resources or materials that it takes to build said product is probably going to be limited. Why? Because you're not only getting these products or materials yourself, other people are probably doing the same. So if other people are going and trying to find the same materials and utilize the same materials and resources to make their business grow and whatnot, you have to be there first. So I heard a reference as well. It's like if you were trying to invest in, Bitcoin. If you were early in the process, if you were fast to being one of the first people to invest in Bitcoin, you probably would have a good return. However, if you're slow, you're probably losing money, because if it's at the point to where you're hearing from somebody else, hey, you should probably go invest in Bitcoin, it's probably too late. The resources is probably used all up or invested all up to the point to where other people have made that profit that you're not going to be able to make anymore, because it's not that same brand new commodity that everybody was, trying to rush to. So resource optimization and being quick with getting to these resources and using these resources is also a very important thing as well. But as far as problem solving, I think that being quick helps a lot, because we have encountered a myriad of bad things. I don't want to say bad things. A myriad of problems that have popped up that we've had to resolve. And it was very crucial for us to resolve them quickly. And it would have been a lot worse if we didn't. So, Jose, do you want to talk a little bit about how solving problems quickly and fast can help you as an entrepreneur or businessman?
Let me reference my notes from episode 85, the Jettison podcast. Mm-hmm. So imagine imagine you work in a large group, and large groups make slow decisions because large groups move slowly because you have to get the consensus from everybody in the group. Say that group makes 5 decisions a month, and a small group makes 5 decisions a week. In a year, the large group makes 60 decisions, while the small group makes 260 decisions. If the batting average of the small group is 50%, that means that the small group makes 130 good decisions a year, while a batting average of 100% for the large group is 60. That means that the small group makes roughly 2 to 3 times as much positive decisions as the large group, which means their growth or their ability to adapt or their market share at minimum is 2x of what the large group is. So all this to say, the quicker you can make decisions, the more decisions you make. The more decisions you make, the higher likelihood that you will succeed in a shorter time frame. Now, even accounting for lower quality of decisions, you're getting your reps in. So getting to make decisions quickly and acting on those decisions is what gives you the competitive advantage, or what helps you adapt to a market that's continuously changing. Because there's been times where we've sat and thought about a solution rather than taking action, and we've seen other people take action before us. Now, not necessarily were these things that were within our cusp
or control,
just because when you combine action with money, things can happen a lot faster.
Correct.
And we're literally, and we continue, and we always have been building from the ground up. So even if we can make these decisions fast, execution is sometimes delayed, which is why I want to know your thoughts on how speed can increase productivity.
Right. So I'll use this podcast as an example. Originally, we were thinking a good amount of podcasts per week would be, sufficient. But when you think about most people are probably nowadays saying, hey, we'll do one podcast a week, one podcast a month, 2 podcasts a month, something like that, 4 podcasts a month, what have you. So for us, we were like, everybody is thinking from a quality standpoint as opposed to thinking from a quantity and quality standpoint. We're going to increase the quantity that we're providing, and we're going to get these podcasts out fast. To other people, it might seem like, oh my gosh, we're moving so quickly. We always have a podcast up and ready. Now, to us, yes, that is how it seems as well, because we're actually producing. But to y'all, things are happening fast. The level of productivity is so much higher than other people's, which also helps us grow our channel, because people feel like they can rely on us for a podcast all the time. Before they look up or before they realize it, we have another podcast. That's where other podcasts don't come into, the same arena. So when we do that, we can grow our audience more that way, because we've increased that productivity, because we're moving faster than others. We have access to a higher audience, or we can get subscriptions higher or more frequently than other people because they're releasing something once a month or something like that. And that's a to me, that's a kind of a shot in the dark, because if you're releasing one podcast a month, whether it hits or not, you really won't know. You don't have much data to test as well. But when you have the productivity of releasing podcasts at a certain amount per week, it's a lot easier to test, and you get those results back, and you're able to optimize your podcast because of that. So I think that is why moving faster is a big thing as well. And we also fail faster. So when you fail faster, that allows you to be able to realize what doesn't work and then optimize it and say, hey, look, this clearly doesn't work, but now you know what doesn't work. So when you fail fast, it allows you to take what doesn't work, throw that to the side, find the little key things that do work, and then increment that along with your process of becoming better at whatever it is that you're doing. So moving with such speed and such gusto allows you to be able to improve a lot quicker, as opposed to someone who has something that they're releasing slowly or producing slowly. So that is a big, big thing when it comes to just moving fast in general, is it increases productivity by a lot. But we talked about the positives of things. Now let's talk about the negatives.
The best part. Always
Yes.
the best part.
Exactly. And I feel like we'll have a lot more to say about this as well. So, and you might have something to say about this one. So, in your opinion, when you are moving very quickly, does this compromise quality for you? And I'm not even talking about in general. Right now, I'm talking about for you. And then you can answer the in general. Because I think the answer for both is different.
As much as I would like to say, I'm the man.
Oh.
I can perform under any, every, and all circumstances. Conditions have no bearing or dictation on me.
Right.
I am different.
Jose.
I'm Jose. I'm Jose. Ego is the enemy, and that's not the case. I am human like everybody else, even though I may be have a leg up in most arenas. At the end of the day, I still get affected by sleep, exhaustion, whatever external
We'll get to that.
circumstances, a whole bunch of things. So quality goes down, because the more things that I try to do, the more I stretch myself thin, and the faster I try to accomplish things in the shorter time frames that we try to go for, quality always goes down after a certain point.
And you know what I find interesting about that? A lot of these, actually all of these, good and bad, we've experienced, but I would say no more than this particular one. So, does speed and moving very quickly burn you out? Have you experienced burnout from moving fast, doing things so quickly as opposed to taking your time to do things?
I never have.
Really?
Yeah.
You never experienced any form of...
I've never just been like, I have to stop.
I wouldn't call that burnout as far as how I think that we would define the word. But for most people, they would, I guess, burnout would be, oh my gosh, I just can't do anymore. But
let's look
right
at
now,
the etymology of the word. Burn out.
Mm-hmm.
If a fire burns out, that means there's no more fire. There's no more fuel.
agreed. But I do
So
think
by
that when it comes to definitions, we always aren't as, not just we, but people in general always aren't as specific.
Well, this is an example of having differing perspectives too.
Right. And I would say that we've encountered some form of burnout, but just because, in our opinion, say if you're moving, right, you're in a car, the combustion engine is, it's firing on all cylinders, and then it just stops, right? You're already moving. So because the engine stops, you're still going to continue. You just aren't going to keep up the same pace. So in my opinion, when I think of burning out, I more so kind of liken it to that, because I do believe that, oh, thank you for the, what is that, ASMR? But I do believe that we have experienced some form of burnout, except when we experience this, it's not something where we stop it's something that could potentially slow us down or inhibit our productivity or efficiency on a day-to-day. And I do believe that
So let's put it this way. I'll agree with that definition. So
the Austin definition.
The Austin definition of burnout is not that everything stops. It's that the forward momentum continues without an increase in, we'll say, acceleration. So in other words, you're either maintaining or slightly reducing your speed.
Right.
Your current trajectory is still on.
Right.
But you're no longer putting gas or fuel into the engine that's moving forward. That I will agree with.
Okay.
Because burnout to me, especially the way people define it nowadays, is like, oh, I can't do anything. I'm going to stay in my bed and I'm going to cry and drink a bottle of wine and a pint of ice cream.
Yeah.
That is, sorry, pathetic. You'll never catch us doing that.
There you go.
You might catch us saying, hey, well, fuck this. We're going to go for a third workout today and we'll work through this shit in the morning.
Yeah.
We'll send a message to one of our employees and put it on their agenda so that they can meet us first thing in the morning so that we can tackle this obstacle, this blocker, whatever it might be. You know, well, actually, interestingly enough, Alex Hormozy says all that discomfort or all those issues or all that, the problems that you're having oftentimes just stem from having unanswered questions or conversations that you haven't had that you need to have. So sometimes the burnout risk per the Austin definition comes from not addressing things fast enough. The speed at which you address the problems, the speed at which you address or do not fail to address questions or issues that are happening, the faster you burn out. Imagine you have an employee who's underperforming and you say, well, it's fine. We can deal with this for a short period of time. And next thing you know, that's weighing on you. And so how quickly do you address a problem? How quickly do you solve it? How quickly do you have that conversation? Because the longer you wait, the more it weighs on you. And the more pressure you put on the engine might just implode.
Right. And I would say as you burn out or as you're experiencing some form of burnout, I think that you can speak to this as well when it comes to certain things. As you have decreased the amount of sleep that you've gotten, would you say that you have been able to make, or in extreme scenarios, would you say that you make or come to the same realizations and decisions as quickly as you would have if you had a good amount of sleep? And that, I say that, and just in general, does moving too fast sometimes cause you to make poor decisions? Because, and I feel like I know your answer, but
I'm Jose.
yeah, you know, that's mainly his answer to most shit. It doesn't affect me, but you.
5 minutes later, you catch me in the corner.
Exactly. Knock the fuck out.
Like, I thought you didn't have to sleep. I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my brain.
Resting my eyes.
Right,
You know?
resting my eyes.
Yeah.
So, you asshole. Let me put it this way. Why we sleep. The author's name escapes me at this current point in time. That's an example of what happens when you don't sleep, actually. Matthew Walker. Yes, Matthew Walker, the author of Why We Sleep. In the book, if you haven't read it, it is a great book. I highly recommend you read it. We definitely need to get better at practicing the things in that book, but all in due time. So essentially, you are no longer capable of accurately assessing how competent you are when you're sleep deprived. Your level of cognization after pulling an all-nighter, scientifically speaking, is the same as being intoxicated on alcohol, having the same blood level that is illegal to drive with. So, and also your perception of how well you can reason and solve problems is inaccurate, meaning that your ability to make decisions goes down and you are not even able to acknowledge or address, or nor are you cognizant of what's actually going on with your ability to make these decisions. Now, The reason I say this is because right now, on average, I get 2 to 4 hours of sleep 7 days a week. And it's been like that for a couple months now, which is actually crazy to think it's been that long. And I will tell you, Austin will remind me every single day of the limitations of my bandwidth and decision making. And particularly, it goes like this. Oh, Austin, we should do this. Bro, I told you that 2 weeks ago. No, you did not. Yes, I did. Well, why did I say no? I don't know. Okay, fine. Well, let's do it anyways. Good idea. You were right. And so, honestly, for me, it works out in this case because I have Austin over here to essentially cover all the bases, and I can just literally be in the weeds, and Austin can be above, and whatever I miss, Austin catches, and vice versa. But if you're on your lonesome, it's a lot of things are going to suffer.
Right.
And yes, was that the entirety of your question?
Yes, and I think we've gotten a little bit long-winded here, so I wanted to leave it off with this. So, and this applies to you as well. As what's your nickname? What's your nickname?
The Jet.
As the Jet. So, as you're moving faster in air, it's super cool. It's a cool thing to see, a cool thing to witness, a cool thing to be a part of. You're going very, very fast. You're covering a lot of ground, which you wouldn't have covered otherwise, or you wouldn't have covered as fast otherwise if you were, going slow. But as you increase in speed, Mach 3, something like that, your maneuverability goes down substantially. So if you're wanting to bank left, at a very sharp rate, you can't do it. It's going to cause you to probably crash, and just your boosters are going to be messed up because you're trying to pull off such a difficult move at that speed. So I say that to say, when it comes to getting things done fast, you can cover a lot of ground. You can get a lot of things done that most people can't do, most people won't do. That's great. It is great. But you also have to realize that it comes with these side effects as well. And you have to realize that if you want to move at a fast pace, that you're going to have to be okay with these side effects. And if you're not okay, then maybe you moving at Mach 3 is not for you. For the Jet, it works. For other people, it may not work. I'm an AWAC. I may not be able to move as fast of a speed, to cover that much ground, but I can maneuver a little bit, better when it comes to certain things. So that might work for you. But again, when you're thinking about, hey, I'm going to do this thing super fast, I'm going to make sure that I have this timeline and I get all these things done by the end of the month, you have to realize that comes with things as well. Things that you are going to have to be okay with, that most people will be like, why the hell is he even doing that? How is he doing that? So that is our podcast, Veloz. Are you ready for Veloz? I know Jose is, but can you handle that speed? You have to ask yourself that. So, hey, guys, the AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check.
The AM Club Podcast.